So there's a lot to share with you today, and I'm going to look at my notes over here because there's some things I want to be clear. I touch on here before we get into all the things we're going to share. I want to invite you just to take a moment to consider all of the beautiful connections we've made through all this work and what we do here in MKP and ManKind Project. Some of these connections are now held in memory. So I invite you to take a moment just to honor those brothers and the sisters, whether partners of, who've gone before us. And whatever way fits for you, remember them in silence. Let's just give a moment to honor those who've gone on whose shoulders we stand. Yeah. Thank you for that, everyone. Um, in this moment, I'm remembering the man who invited me to this weekend 22 years ago, who's gone on. So we all have stories to tell about the people who've touched our hearts, our souls, our minds, and made an impact in our life. So thanks for taking a moment just to honor those memories. Really grateful for all of you to be here today. And many of the people who will see this message and what we're sharing here today will do so by the recording that we're now doing. And I'm grateful for the privilege to have served all of you in this project as chairman of the board for MKP USA for the last 10 and a half months or so. And a shout out to all the support I've had from the other board members, all the other various different circles and the employees, everybody. None of what has occurred this year is because of me. It's because of all of us and all of the support that I and we have had in moving this whole organization forward in a really good way. There's a lot of important stuff that we're going to talk about. Um, we held our elections today. Uh, we're going to share the results in just a moment. We got some slides we're going to present to you. I want to thank all of the board members who were not, or all the candidates who were not selected to join the board this year for putting themselves forward. And I'll share their names as we present the board or present the slide. Okay, let's get on to it. Boyson, you've got a slideshow we can share here. First thing I want to call out is the Asheville disaster recovery. We're going to talk more about that. There's some wonderful things to report. Men modeling what it is to be a new warrior in MKP. We're going to share the election results. What are the other topics we got there? The financial health of the organization is also something I'm sure you're all wanting to hear about. Our strategic vision, our strategic plan that we've been talking about, and what the vision is and how it might evolve. We won't get into details too much about that. And then there's so many things to talk about around the constituencies and the different circles in the project. And then, of course, there's this ManKind Project 40th anniversary that's coming up in September of next year. Big doings. Hope each and every one of you can attend, whether virtually or in person. It's going to be an epic celebration of who we were and who we are and what we might become. So let's get into the next slide. Asheville Recovery. Over $53,000 has been raised so far through a GoFundMe and distributed to many, many people in need there. Many people have gone without food, without water, without houses. Many people are living in intense temporary structures with support from the community efforts. It's just a monumental answering the call. Give us a couple of examples. Zachariah Khan is the one who started the GoFundMe account. Tatiana Sanabria and the members of the Disaster Recovery Board. Just a shout out and so much gratitude for all of the efforts they've made. and are continuing to make. This is a long haul. The things that we've done right now and the men have contributed to, whether by donations or time or gasoline or sending trucks down there from the mid-Atlantic area, you know, so many different contributions have been made, and that's just the beginning. There are going to be opportunities for us to show up in person, continuing donations, because there's going to be a rebuild. Houses are destroyed. One of our warrior brothers' houses, or daughter's house, was, I believe, washed away in the flooding from there. So this is just the beginning of how we can contribute and support and model what it is to be in service in places where it's of the greatest need. There's a benefit concert that has already occurred. Boyson told me there's another one coming up in December. I have no more details about what that is. The point is, people are rising to the occasion. And are we doing enough? It's always enough. And can we do more? The answer is most usually, yeah, we could do more. So I invite you to take a look at the page. There's a QR code down there at the bottom that'll take you to the specific details and different landing areas where you'll find out more information about some of the things we're just scratching the surface on here. Next slide, please. Congrats to all the new and returning board members into the ManKind Project USA's board of directors. Again, we're here to serve the project as a whole. So let's share who we've got on some of those. George Faison is the chair, or will be the chair as of January 1st in 2025. David McLean has run for secretary to replace Deb Mauger as secretary on the board, opening up another at-large board position, which is beautiful. Deb Mauger has transitioned into the treasurer, replacing Jerry Hamilton. So we give much thanks to both of them, David and Deb, for their prior roles, and much gratitude for them stepping into other very important and valuable roles on our board. We couldn't do it without the quality of such commitment. Our at-large board members currently elected to the board: Philip Beverly for a 2-year term from Chicago. Returning board member, he was there for a 1-year term last year, and now he's on for 2 years. Ron Kaz, welcome Ron Kaz, and thank you for returning, Philip. Ron Kaz brings a lot of value and experience to the board and his various different life experiences and business experiences. Look forward to working with him. From the Intermountain community, and Barney Kinzer from the Northwest. He's also elected as an at-large member for 2 years. Again, looking forward to learning more about and working with Barney and supporting George in his chairmanship. And we have one more there, right? Stephen Odejorn returns for a 1-year term. There were only 3 positions at-large members available, but when David McLean put his name in for secretary and was elected for secretary, that opened another at-large board member, which Stephen Odejorn has been elected to replace the 1-year remaining term that David McLean had, just so that's clear of why he's only on a 1-year term. So the results of the annual meeting are fantastic. I also want to give a shout out to those who put their names forward and were not elected into this. Jeff Tate, David Carr, Brian Siegel, and Paul Brody. Thank you all so much for stepping into the fire and being willing to serve. And I want to share with each of you, there's a place for you here. Even if it wasn't as a board member, there are committees, working groups, there are circles that could use your support with your knowledge, your experience, and your passion and compassion for this work. So thank you all, and greatly appreciated. So let's all give a little thank you for all of those willing to step up. Blessings. Oh, you know what? I forgot Craig Herrick. Thank you, Odie, for reminding him of that. I did not have his name down here. My apologies. I meant no disrespect. Craig Herrick also ran for a board position, in that large position. He was not elected into the board. And based on what he shared with us as the chair of the U.S. Leader Body Circle earlier in the year before he stepped down, he has a lot to offer. And there are places we're going to take advantage of that with his willingness to support in different ways. Thank you so much. Yeah, something many people are not aware of. And sometimes, as this time last year, there were expressions of concern around our financial position. Rumors that we were going under, that we were not solvent, or stories and rumors sometimes have a basis and a foundation of truth. This year, I'm happy to report that we have a very much improved cash position currently and a really positive outlook as we look into 2025. The inclusion of the pit, thank you, George Faison, for championing that and moving that forward. As part of the NWTAs that we have scheduled for next year, the pit will be included in the pricing of that. That's likely to get more men coming to follow up on their weekends and become more involved, and quite likely to increase the number of members that we have, the sustaining members that we have as a result of that. We've had 56 NWTAs this year. What was it? 1,800, 1,158 new brothers as of today. That was down a bit from where we were even last year, and still yet we remained financially better than we were at this time last year, having done more NWTAs. I believe that's accurate. Is it not, Poison? Put you on the spot.
We are almost exactly the same number of NWTAs as we were last year, and very close in the number of new brothers this year and last year.
So we certainly have not lost any ground, and the intent, and then we still have three more left to do this year. Next bullet point there, if you will. Our organizational development team has just done some outstanding work, not only current and for this past 10 months or 11 months, looking forward and what their plans are and what the intentions are for the next year. Strong kudos to them. Good work for the organization development team. We have 2,269 sustaining members. I'm calling that a big win. Thanks, Dan Baldwin, the whole team that supports in membership, everybody that's going out to your I groups, your communities, and promoting membership. That is one of the ways that we're going to improve our financial situation going forward. One of the ways, not the only one. The National Scholarship Fund and the PIT integration and the NWTA repricing. We haven't raised our prices in many, many years. And I'm catching myself talking too fast. I oftentimes do that, so forgive me. I get excited about things, and I just want to get it out there. The 2025 National Scholarship Program, and George, again, thank you for bringing that and pushing that and socializing it and getting the support you've gotten for that. That's going to allow more opportunities and expansion of scholarship funds available for the areas. Many areas have scholarship funds that they can use, and up to a certain number, and we don't need to go into the details of that, they can be matched by tapping into the National Scholarship Fund. So if you had $1,000 in your area that you put out for scholarships on an NWTA, you could possibly have that matched by the National Scholarship Fund. This is a beginning thing. It's in its infancy, but we have great expectations that this will be supportive of getting more men who may be less capable of affording the price tag into the weekend, despite challenges they might have around finances. Areas, constituencies keep our scholarships churning. I don't like the word churning, but it's really fits. We want to use our scholarship money. If we're holding it as if it's our nest egg or something, that's really not an effective way to utilize the scholarship funds that are in our realms. So use them and get more men into the program. Excuse me. And now with the National Scholarship Fund, that's going to be supportive of that. So let's all work together and get more men in more circles and more places. Strategic vision. We rolled out a strategic plan a while back, and it's this big, hairy ass goal. It's huge, and it didn't seem to have a lot of traction on the surface, but a whole lot has happened that, Boyson, if you want to talk about that, I'd open some space for you to do that. The idea is let's get more men in more circles and more places, which I just spoke to. More open men's groups. We've got to create the opportunity. The benefit, from what I understand, of the open men's circles is a number of the men come to the NWTAs having sat in the open men's circles already ready to do the work. I mean, a couple of NWTAs I've been on, when they step on the carpet, they're already ready to go. They've already had an open door to that. Open men's group. I said circles. Forgive me for that. Thank you. There are some new communities that have been launched or developed over the last year. Don't have the details on which ones those are. We're continuing to grow and expanding in different areas, opening up new communities, I groups, circle of men groups. This is something I see as a positive growth in a way that is addresses the topic of more men in more circles in more places. I'm really, really happy to report the success of our specialized NWTAs. The Palme weekend. I believe we had one this year in Southern California. There's just a recent GBTQ, the barrier-free weekends, the two MOC weekends this year have been all very, very successful. And those look like they're getting a lot more support, a lot more people interested in staffing. And we all know someone who fits in one of those groups. Are we inviting them? Are we letting them know there's a safe place for them to come and feel like they belong in our specialized NWTAs? There's an Indigenous men's NWTA that I believe is happening on Pine Ridge. Um, Indigenous men is the name we've been using. We'll see what Dallas and that group want to call it, whether it's Indigenous men's or Native men or whatever. That hasn't been decided fully. Personally, I like Native. Being a Native man myself, that fits for me. The the value of those. I just spoke with a man, Jermaine Johnson, who was on both of the MOC weekends this year, and he raved about it. He just thought it was an amazing success. Philip Beverly, I want to call him out and thank him for helping us drive this. It's taken a lot of work from a lot of people, the leader body, the different core leadership circle, the NWTA process circle, to help create the opportunity to expand and not be stuck in, stuck with some of the barriers or guidelines that kept us because it didn't follow the path. Paths need to change. If we're going to evolve, changes will need to happen. And we've modeled that this year with some of the specialized NWTAs. I'm super happy about that. Boyson knows more about the growing public recognition than probably anybody else in the project. The influence and collaboration with other organizations and public projects, there are too many to list here. In the report that's going to be published, and Boyson will make it available, you will see more details about that. I'm just not remembering in the moment all of the different examples of the collaboration. And Boyson,
You want me to lean in,
yeah, would you
Lonnie?
please? Yeah.
Yeah. So, a couple of things. I'll just mention a couple of things that are going on right now. So, with other experts, leaders in men's workspace, the ManKind Project was invited to sit with a group from the Movember Foundation in New York City this fall about work that they're doing on research and redefining how we think and talk about masculinity and manhood in research, academic research, which is a big step forward. We're involved in a collaboration with the Global Compassion Coalition and the American Psychological Association's Division 51 for the study of men and masculinities around compassion for and with boys and men. So, developing programming to increase the visibility of compassion as a thing going forward. We're also connected with Moonshot for ManKind, which is Jed Diamond, who's a new warrior brother who's been around for years and years and years, to talk about men's inequities in healthcare and inequities in health. So men live an average of 7 years less than women, and that is wildly different for men in different demographic groups as well. So there are numerous ways in which MKP is being invited to the table into bigger and bigger conversations to talk about issues that impact men across the country, and our name continues to get out there.
Yeah, thank you, boys. Are there any other things from internal, like what happened in, was it Kentucky or Tennessee this year?
Yeah, so let's talk. Shout out to, thank you. That's great. Shout out to Brandon Clift and the Men Who Chat, Chattanooga. So early in the spring, Brandon Clift led a group of men, the Men Who Chat, in collaboration with 12 other nonprofit organizations in the city of Chattanooga, Tennessee, to host a men's mental health day. So they did a 4-hour event in a large park right in the heart of Chattanooga. and brought hundreds of people out, families out. They did ice ice dunks, like cold water baths. They had live music, they had speaker groups, they had tables and booths from all of these nonprofit organizations bringing people together. So there are many examples. And then Metro New York Tri-State, I'll just shout out to Metro New York Tri-State, who have been doing the Governor's Ball Festival now for I think 10 years, where volunteers from MKP go out and serve at a large music festival, working in booths, and they raise money for the organization and get more visibility for MKP as well.
Excellent. Thank you, Boysen. You have your finger on the pulse so much more with these things that are occurring than I do, and I appreciate you sharing with us all.
Thanks.
What's the next slide we got there? Yeah, we had a meeting back in October with the area stewards and the grounding and renewal constituency. At that gathering, I was able to attend for 3 of the 4 days, and it was an awesome getting together. About 50 men total, I think. There may have been a little more than 50, with leader body and board representation as well in Lawson, Missouri. It was really a wonderful collaborative heart and business gathering. I cannot express the fullness of how valuable that was for the area stewards to get together in person and talk about things that affect each and every one of them. One of them is one of the main topics that they talked about, and I won't go into detail around all of them, I thought was the considering the requirement to be a member of MKP, a sustaining member of MKP, to be able to staff a weekend. In some communities, they already have it as a requirement. And there are some who balk at it, but it seemed like from what I got, and I was not part of all of the meetings, Jeff Tate was there and a number of other area stewards. Odie, I think you were there, representing the board as well as Colorado in there. Not the board, but the leader body, I think. Anyway, the value of having men as members, sustaining members in the organization, cannot be spoken to enough. And I know oftentimes many people, what's the value that you place in being here and being part of this brotherhood, this connection that you have with so many men, whether it's local men in your area, the institution as a whole? It's about the value based. Give back a little for that which you received. So hopefully that doesn't land as an attack or some sort of a lever. But I know that I've asked myself several times over the years, have I given back enough for all the gifts I've received here? And so far, the answer has always been not yet. So here I am, continuing to give more of my time. And I'm a lifetime sustaining member of MKP USA. So that's all I'll say on that. The gathering was great. The grounding renewals constituency men got together and talked about a large number of topics with them, and that's near and dear to my heart as I'm part of that circle as well. I'm happy to share that the number of men that are recognized GNRC lead men for the weekend has continued to grow since Jeff Tate and Jack Armstrong took over as headmans of that. So thank you, both of you, for leading that charge. Kudos for the value and the work that you've done. And there's a number of pipeline men in the pipeline to be GNRC lead men. Some of them might actually be on this call. And I see that as a really, it's promising and hopeful that we're going to continue to grow this brand new constituency out of the ashes of that which was. Leader body, kudos. Greg Williams is has been holding the role of chair of the U.S. Leader Body Circle since Craig Herrick stepped down, and they're doing amazing work. It would seem to be a seamless transition. All the work that they're doing, looking at how to update the NWTA processes and strengthening their core teachings internally, as well as sharing with the rest of our brothers that staff. And they're looking to evolve into the future. What do they need to do to improve and change so that we're prepared for the future that comes, embracing and understanding the societal shifts? And the men that we're attracting today, the younger men we're attracting today, it's a different world than the world was like when I went through 22 years ago. So it's important that they're taking a look at that. And I shout out and really support and honor the men who step into their roles. They've got some new board members in their or circle lead council members, and I think they're having an election coming up soon. Look forward to hearing and seeing who's going to be running their ship and steering over the next year or two. So again, shout out to the area stewards, the GNRC, and the leader body for all of the work they're doing to keep this train on the tracks. You guys have probably heard about the 40th anniversary celebration. You see the dates there. It's going to be September 25th through the 27th of next fall in Tucson, Arizona. Doing it in Tucson like we planned on the 3535 to make sure that Rich Tosi would be able to attend. That's where he lives. We're going to celebrate and recognize generations of connection. Generations. 40 years. That's at least 2 generations of humans have come to the world since this started in 1985. So super happy about that. The World Elder Gathering is they're trying to work out the logistics to actually be part of that, not part of that 40th anniversary celebration, but have their meeting either a few days before that and possibly bookend the 40th anniversary celebration by doing a couple of days of meetings before and a day or two meeting afterwards, but to take advantage of us all being together and more opportunities to connect in person. This will be, as best I know, we're going to endeavor to make this available as much as possible virtually for those people who cannot attend in person. So if you're not aware of it and you haven't already stated an intention, I think Boyston has publicized. There's a QR code for you. You can check in. Even if you're not sure you can come, if you have an intention to come, fill out it's not a registration page. It's a statement of intent that you want to be there. We're trying to get an accurate count so we can make all the necessary arrangements with the facility so that we have enough space for everyone and we have the budget and everything sorted out. So it's going to be epic. On Saturday will be a Circle of Honor Awards, honoring the new Circle of Honor recipients. It'll be a nice dinner, a gala celebration. Don't know what that circle is going to actually come up with. George Durrani, Daryl Handsome, John Levitt, Boyson, and a number of others. I think Brian Siegel's part of that group as well, representing elders. They're putting together an epic program so that we can all be there together and celebrate. So let us know if you plan on being there. That would be hugely helpful. Great. There's one thing that we didn't touch on, and this is specifically a shout out to you, Boyson, around the podcasts. How many of you have logged in and watched at least some of the podcasts?
Hey,
Okay,
thank you.
I see a few hands, maybe 40, 50%. I encourage you to take a look at those. There's some wonderful podcasts, some good storytelling, good sharing. But the most important part of me bringing this up right now is over 175,000 downloads of our podcast. That is an example of how we're actually having an impact out in the world that I wasn't aware of until Boyson shared that with me recently. How many? That is incredible. 175,000 downloads of what, 100 and how many
100
podcasts?
and 178 episodes so far, and we're over 106 5-star reviews on the podcast now as well.
That's an example of how we're being seen out in the world. My guess is, of all of those downloads, it's not just by new warriors, right? So to think how many people are becoming exposed to us, how are we taking advantage of that? What more can we do to make ourselves more attractive to people who come in? One thing I've said before in different circles is we spend so much time looking in to try to figure out what to do inside of our circles, how to pay attention to this or that, or we don't have enough over there. We are wealthy beyond measure in the value of what we do and how we show up in the world. So if we didn't worry about what needs to be fixed over here and maybe we need to do this or do that, we do a 180-degree turn and figure out how we can go and model one of our core values as missions, right? Being missions of service, our personal missions. How do we show the world who we are? Just by showing up and being the authentic men in integrity that you are. The world sees that more and more and more, like these podcasts. It's really brilliant. If we all stepped out and took 3 steps out of our circle into the world and people see who we are, we do that enough. I don't think we'll ever have to worry about, are we going to have enough men signed up for the weekend? We'll have waiting lists because what we do and who we are and how we show up is more valuable than they know. And people want some of what we got, even if they don't know it. So thanks for that unscripted or unintended, but this is hugely valuable and there's something there. Okay. Just giving a hands up. Okay. So we've shared a lot of information here. As Boyson said, there's a document that's going to have this more in fullness for you to digest more slowly at your own leisure rather than listening to my rapid fire sharing. Is there anything anybody needs or wants to say now? I would open it for a moment or two of comments or questions. If there's anything you need to know that you didn't get here at this point. I see Jeff Tate's hand up.
Jeff, come on out.
So I've been on a 6-week odyssey,
Mm.
staffing weekends at various locations. And what I notice is that we have been eating our seed corn. I know this from my business experience, and uh, we need to refresh our training program materials. And I suggest that as we move forward with the membership, with the community of membership, that we commit to using our membership dollars to refreshing our training materials throughout the entire program. That's what I have to say.
Yeah, thank you for that, Jeff. Curriculum is looking at a number of different things, partnerships, licensing possibilities. And one of the things I told Christopher Odell when appointing him as the lead of curriculum, what are the other leader tracks that we're offering? What other offerings do we have that are outside? Being a leader is not just being a certified leader, and that requires a tremendous amount of work and effort, investment. But how can we offer men other opportunities, how to be leaders in their lives, knowing that they are? We do the Axis Mundi, center yourself between, above, and in the middle. We all have our own Axis Mundi, our own navigation, if you will, our own compass. So we're all leaders in our families, in our work business, and whatever we do. How are we offering, and are we offering enough opportunities in leader tracks for people to expand on the skills they already have or learn some they didn't have it before? So thank you, Jeff, for that. There's a lot more we can do and growing, evolving for the men who come, the world as it changes around us. Yeah, there's work to do. As was mentioned, the leader body's looking on reworking some of the things that exist in the NWTA, but we've got to look outside of the NWTA as well. I see Daryl Hansom's hand up.
Yes, thank you, Lonnie. So, Lonnie, I want to acknowledge and thank you for your service and your leadership during your tenure. It's been greatly appreciated, and I just want to let everyone know it's a volunteer position, and Lonnie has put in a lot of time, probably a lot more time than what he had intended to do so. Okay, but yeah, it's much appreciated, and without men stepping up to do that, we would be in a very different position. So thank you, Lonnie. Appreciate you, brother.
You're welcome, and I'm grateful for that, Daryl. And that brings me to a point. Service. We just have are moving into the idea of, and it probably will happening very soon, but service and connection are two new core values. They're not new to us, but we're calling them out as core values. We're all here and of service when we staff a weekend, many ways in our lives. Service is why I'm here. Because to be in service is following my internal personal mission of how I want to show up in the world and who I am. So there are ways for each of you who have specific skill sets, time with the time and bandwidth. There's a place for you to serve. Dan Baldwin and I think Boyson are trying to come together with a way to track the skill sets. If you have something to offer, we're going to be trying to garner a list of people and places and ways which you might be able to serve. Yeah, sometimes it's a few hours a month. Sometimes it might be more than that. We are men of service. We'd love to take advantage of your willingness to serve in ways beyond what you are doing, or maybe capitalize more in the way that you are doing what you're doing. So let us do this all together. The future is bright for the ManKind Project USA. My hope continues to grow on what we're going to become. And I'm grateful and happy about who we are. And that's pretty much what I have to say today. Thank you all for being here. Much gratitude. I ask blessings for each and every one of you and your family as you go about this holiday season in whatever way you celebrate. Just remember to be grateful and don't be afraid to express your gratitude to those you care about and those who deserve or have earned a little thank you from time to time. Blessings, peace.
Thank you. Thank you, Lonnie.